Hello and welcome to Wonder Tilt, the podcast where fascinating topics of the day are weighed with opinion, knowledge, and humor, causing the seesaw of life to lean in whatever direction it chooses to rest. My name is Russ, and I'm here with my co-hosts, my pod hosts, my co-host pods, Super Dave.
That's not one.
Hello.
And Cloud.
Hello.
Wait, what were you saying?
What? That's not a word.
Co-host pods.
We discussed
Co-host.
this last week, you guys. We can make up any kind of words, and as long as
right.
they fall
That's
into
right.
use, then they're legit.
That's right.
Yeah, Claudio, stop putting me in a
Sorry.
box.
I'm the one who said it too. That's weird.
Gosh. Today we have I would hope to think a very enlightening podcast for everyone. It tis the Christmas season, and if you are like me, you have actually not yet completed your Christmas shopping. By the way, have you guys completed your Christmas shopping?
No. No, I have not.
Just not everyone just rise up all at once. And
Well,
Has my mom completed my Christmas shopping? Yes.
oh, I
Yeah.
see how this goes.
we'll
Okay.
get back to you. Yeah.
Well then, okay. Well then, there's to prove my point. It's a very stressful time of year where it's not even just the presents. It's arranging stuff with family, having to plan multiple parties. You're going to see a lot of people. If you're Super Dave, you actually have to interact with more than 5 human beings in a day. It's tough. It's very stressful.
Oh.
Just kidding. I love you.
5 people.
But five, no more than 5. But
That's the limit.
We're talking about today about how to deal with stress and how different people react to stress in a different way. Now, obviously, there are the normal ones of anger and absolutely losing your mind, or shutting in your basement, in your bedroom for 6 months at a time because you're so stressed. But I wanted to, before we kind of get into some stuff that we've learned, how do you guys find the Christmas season? Is it even stressful for you? Or do you not really care?
For myself, it's like most things where I'm given a loose timeline. It's not stressful for me for most of it.
11
and then
months.
like the last sort of week or a few days, even when I realize, oh, Christmas is coming and I haven't gotten anything yet. That's when the stress kicks in for me. Yeah, no. But that's just an area where I haven't really matured too much yet. And actually, it's weird for us this year. We're doing this different thing where we're each we were drawn from a hat and assigned a different person in the family to buy a specific present for, rather than having to buy something for everybody. So I really only have like one present to do. And,
Nice.
I have not done my Christmas shopping yet. Yeah, but hey, there's still time.
I
still
For
got
one
like a week.
person.
Yeah, bought one Christmas present.
Yeah.
What about you, Cloud?
Myself, like, I didn't know. We're not like a big, like, holiday family. Like, and by my family, I mean like when it was just me, my mom, and Paula, right, and my sister, and I like, it wasn't big because we were already always together, and we didn't need a reason to get together for anything, right?
Oh.
Because we were already close. But I don't know, like my aunt usually holds like a party, and we go there on Christmas Eve. We have a big dinner, and there's a lot of people invited, and
That's it.
yeah, and then my mom usually like ends up like, I just kind of pool money in, and she goes and buys presents for everybody because she's a really good present buyer.
She is good. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Then that being said, then Dave, do you have multiple Christmases that you go to, or is it just was one big family shindig at your place too?
Yeah, for the most part. Like, I think last year we did like an earlier one with my brother and his wife because they were in town. But usually we have it all on Christmas Day, and it's kind of in the city here. We sort of have like, my mom and her 2 sisters, and one of her sisters has her own husband and kids, and so we've got a fair amount of us, but we all mostly live here, and yeah, whatever. I mean, it's a get together, and it's, I don't know, I guess it's starting to be more stressful as I get older. I mean, I'm never really taking on much responsibility, but I don't know. You start to just pick up on other people's like expectations and their own stress levels, and then it's like, why can't you people just chill out and not be stressing me out? But
you're stressing me out by stressing out.
Yeah, I'm starting to get there, but this year has been a good year for me for picking up on when I'm kind of going off the rails and just kind of chill it out, regardless of what's going on. So I'll get to put some of that into practice this year, I hope.
Oh my gosh, man! Like it's taken a whole different side. Because here's the deal. This is the first year where my family is actually not going to go. So I have extended family in a little place in Alberta called Lethbridge. And then my parents live in Calgary. And then Cloud's family lives in Medicine Hat. So there's 3 destinations. So what we used to do is my Calgary family and my immediate, my sons and my wife and I, we would drive down to Lethbridge. Medicine Hat first. And we would spend Christmas Eve there. And then stay till like midnight and then drive through the night to Lethbridge, which is about an hour and a half away, sometimes in blizzard, sometimes not, with kids, and then wake up at like 6 or 7 because Titus and Effie suck at sleeping, period. So, of course, they suck at sleeping in a guest's house at my aunt's place. We wake up for Christmas exhausted, open presents, have our first family lunch, dinner, like supper, whatever. And then we have another evening extended family Christmas supper that same day. And that's in 24 hours, right? So this is the first year where we're not doing that. But Paula is freaking out because unlike other years where she has to have her crap together by this time, we're staying in Calgary. She has gotten 0 of her Christmas shopping done. So I say her Christmas shopping because she doesn't want me picking gifts. So I'm not stressed.
Right.
But she's stressed.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm a good, wise husband. Take notes, guys. Seriously.
Don't deal with it.
Just don't set the note. Well, it's just like your mom. It's like she's so good at getting gifts. Here, honey, here's the money. Bye-bye. So that's what I do.
You only got to buy a few crappy gifts before they clue in and take over.
That's right.
I hope she doesn't listen to this. Otherwise, I'm totally sunk. I knew
it's
I should never.
Man. We got like 3 subscribers. I think you're good.
Yes. Yeah. I totally knew we should never have bought that potty putter the other year. That totally worked in my favor, and never was I able to buy gifts again. But we're still walking around like Chinook Mall in Calgary, which is just massive. And there are 2 types of people, and I think it's exactly what we are in this podcast. There are those that are like nonchalantly just like walking around like, I'll get a gift maybe. And then you have like the people that have like 5 bags under their arms and they're looking up. They're not looking out. They're not looking around. They're looking up and straight ahead because they know the next store they're going to.
That's right. They planned it out. They got the blueprints from like
absolutely
customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will say that I definitely, when I do my shopping and get into the stores, I'm definitely more that second person because it's more like I need to get out of here as soon as possible. So
exactly,
I'm on a mission. It's just like buying groceries. It's like I need to get away from all these people. So let's get my things and get out.
It's funny. I never would think of it like that. I'd be like, those guys are the people that love to shop. Like seriously, if I saw you in the mall and I didn't know who you were and you're just like buzzing around different stores with a mission, you've got like 5 bags, I'd be like, dang, that man's been here before. That's what I would think.
He loves shopping.
He loves shopping.
In and out.
Look at that panic terror in his eyes. He loves this place.
He just stepped on a small child. He loves this.
Plowed him over.
That's why it's funny because we actually live in a very stressful continent, but also a very stressful nation. And of course, Christmas, Black Friday, Boxing Day, it's high energy. So my wife Paula, she loves shopping on Boxing Day. I can't stand it. Like you line up at the doors at 6 a.m. There's tons of people everywhere, and then you run into the store, try to grab the best deals, and there's like 5,000 other people with you. But apparently, she gets a rush from that. So whatever.
Not worth it, man. Not worth it.
It's because she kills everybody in her way just to get.
Oh, she likes to fight. Just don't get in her way. No, don't do it. That being said, then apart even from Christmas, when you guys get incredibly stressed, what is your personal go-to? What's your personal go-to? What do you find yourself doing?
Oh, man. I mean, there's good things and bad things, right? There's the things that we learn to go to as children and eventually hopefully grow out of, and then the ones we adopt. So I mean, I don't know. I'm a pretty passionate kind of guy. You know, when I feel something, I feel it pretty strong. So stress can hit me and it can sneak up on me too sometimes. And all of a sudden I got this huge thing and I don't know what to do with it. This rage. So, I don't know. When I was younger, mostly this would manifest when I was playing video games and dying horribly. I had a bad habit of going through controllers. I'll say, and sometimes I'd hit the wall with them, and I learned to patch drywall because my dad found the hole in the wall behind one of my posters and was like, "All right, time for a life lesson." But that's not how I react now. I've grown.
Good job, Super Dave. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The thing is, when you're really stressed, like if you just follow your instincts, which might be to like yell or scream or break or kick something, it doesn't really fix it. It kind of makes it worse, right? Like I heard that somewhere, that it's kind of like intoxicating, the rage chemical, and your brain just wants to stay in that place.
Really?
It's not good. Yeah. And I mean, it's not like if you're really mad and you smash something, it's just going to make you more mad, you know? So try and go the opposite way. So I don't know. For me, distractions are the biggest ones, you know, whether it's finding something else to do or listening to some like really up-tempo, you know, chill songs, or stress eating. Stress eating's good if you have a good metabolism, I guess.
Okay.
Those are some big ones for Dave.
Okay. Thank you.
He's huge. He's really fat. He really.
So you're saying really quick before we go to Cloud that if I see a hockey player who misses a goal, smashes his stick off the crossbar of the goalie or of the goal and breaks it, and then goes back to the bench and keeps kicking the bench, because this has happened, and then takes more sticks and keeps breaking it, he's not actually venting his frustration, he's actually manifesting it?
No, that's a snowball reaction. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, just in the actual moment of your freak out, does it actually feel any better? Because it's like, I'm taking control of the situation or whatever. But and then moments afterwards, like you realize either consciously or subconsciously that you're being a petulant child, and it makes you more stressed, and you want to get back to that place you were just at. So, you know, keep wrecking stuff. And yeah.
Wow. Life lessons by Super Dave. Okay.
Yeah, snowballs.
Thanks,
man. Well, Cloud, what do you find yourself doing when you get stressed?
Well, what I used to do when I was a kid, it's similar with like with the controller kind of breaking, right? I would like I understood in my head that if I threw my controller, it would break. So instead, I would try to split it in half with my bare hands, and know that
I've done that too,
and know that I can't break it, but it would still like kind of vent my anger.
It would crack.
It was like a controlled, it was like a controlled thing. But I used to have like what I consider like anger management issues. So I'd have like, I get into a rage, and I was a very quiet person, so you couldn't like tell that I was getting angry, but it was like that bottling it all up kind of thing.
Those are the worst ones.
And then it would those quiet people are always the craziest. And
yes.
And then it would like explode, right, in like one sudden burst. And what ended up happening is I'd usually punch stuff, and it would be fairly hard stuff that I knew wouldn't break. And so
like a wall?
Instead of no, because I know walls can break, especially with my punches.
Okay.
So
It'd
be like metal posts and like wooden posts. It was mostly like fences and stuff. The ground
or
I've
hands.
Punched. Yep.
The ground.
Actually,
yeah, that's good.
Actually, yeah. That's actually a thing. If I look at my actual hands, like on my knuckles, my right hand knuckles on my index finger and my middle finger are actually bigger, because I've actually broken not like broken my knuckles like where it's like splitting them, but like minor kind of breaking them, and those two knuckles are actually bigger on my right hand because
Are
that's
you
my
serious?
punching hand. Yeah. and
That's my punching hand.
and I have
This is called Big Knuckle.
I was I was in a when I was in like relationships and stuff too. I would get jealous, right? And jealousy would like be a big thing for me. Um and I actually
No, I'm not laughing at that. I'm sorry.
no
I
and
thought you would flex your knuckles around other guys.
no I actually I ended up punching my like I ended up getting a brand new deck like for my car. And so I had installed and everything, and it was like a DVD player or whatever. And
Oh my
I think it was
gosh.
like $800 $900 or something, and I installed it
no.
myself. And then I got angry when I went to my car because of something. I totally forget what it was about, but I know it was about my relationship or something. And I ended up punching it out of anger, and yeah, it like I cracked the screen and it like spidered and everything. And so I just ended up like throwing it out or whatever, but that was like something that I used to do like way back when, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
now I think it's more I've learned to recognize when I get stressed because like when I was at work, I would it's weird because like I always thought that I didn't get stressed because I never felt it, and because it wasn't like an emotion that I felt. Like I didn't feel anything heavy on my shoulders. I didn't feel like the workload was too much or anything like that. What ended up happening is like well let's talk about church. Like when I would do sound, the stress of a Sunday, it wasn't really like a weekend. It wasn't like a time that was very relaxing, right? And instead
Right.
it would be a time where I have to get like all the sound stuff ready and do worship practice and stuff like that, and make sure that during the actual sermon and stuff and the worship, nothing went wrong. And so
Right.
if anything went wrong, I have to try and fix it as quickly as possible, right? So you have that stress with you and stuff. And so I'd be on my toes and aware of everything ever since I got there at worship practice until I had to go home at the end, right?
Yikes.
And
Yuck.
so those few hours were I don't know, like 6 hours, 5 hours, whatever it was, of being there was all heightened stress, right? And so what ended up happening is after I went home, so I'd get home at like 1 o'clock. My body, I was so used to it that I knew that at 4 o'clock, like right around 4, like it didn't deviate or anything, I would get a massive migraine headache.
No.
And it was only that Sunday. And then I started because I was like every Sunday I would do most Sundays, right? And then I started realizing when we got like more people on or just like a rare day when I would actually be off, I those 4 o'clock times I would not get a headache at all. So that whole day I wouldn't get a headache because I wouldn't be doing the sound. But while I was doing sound, it didn't feel like it was stress. It was just I would get there and I'd be aware of everything and just make sure that it went out without a flaw, right? But but it gave my body like physical issues, right? And they weren't necessarily bad. Like it was a headache and it was for a little while. Like I ended up probably just taking a nap or just taking Advil and then kind of just wait it out, right? But that was a thing that once I started realizing what would happen, I knew it was coming, right? And so then you kind of just put something in place, not to necessarily prevent it, but what do I do when it does happen, right? And so then I knew, like, then it wasn't just like, oh, am I getting a headache because of something else? No, it was like, no, it was just the stress of the day. And so now you're aware of what it is, and you know that when it hits you, you maybe just like have the Advil ready, like have your Advil like stockpiled, or like make a tea or something, maybe chamomile, right, to sleep better or something like that, or have a time set aside. Don't schedule anything like 4 o'clock, or else you're gonna have a miserable time because you know you're gonna have a headache, right? So like
Holy balls.
stuff like that, right? Where you realize what is it that's stressing you out, because then maybe you can do something to prevent it. And the thing is, like, I couldn't. I was there and I had a responsibility to be there and actually do this stuff. So it was just knowing that it was coming was actually a relief too, right? Because then I'm not just like, am I sick? Like, do I have high blood pressure or something? Because my mom always thought that it was like high blood pressure because she has the high blood pressure issue, and if you get stressed, then your heart rate goes up. Your blood vessels actually constrict, and they allow less blood flow, but your heart is pumping harder, and so it's doing more work. And what ends up happening is like you could have like a blood clot or something, or it could go to your brain, and then all of a sudden you could die, right? And
Wow.
And that was actually like a thing that actually like happened to my mom, where her blood pressure actually got so high that we were joking about it earlier, but she actually did get like a pain in her left arm. And
oh my gosh.
And she was like starting to get dizzy and stuff like that and felt like vomiting. And at first she was just like, oh, well, like this is like what's happening or whatever. It's like, oh, maybe I'm a little sick or something. I'll just kind of wait it out. And she waited like 2 days. It was like the whole weekend. And she went to work the next morning and she's like, oh man, this is not good. Like, I really don't feel it. And it's like, can I take the day off? So she took the day off and she ended up going to the clinic. And she went to the clinic, and when she told the symptoms to like the emergency room, the symptoms to the person up the front desk, right? They're like, okay, sit down. We're getting you in right now, because she knew exactly what it was. And the heightened blood pressure, and like, especially when you have like a pain in your left arm, that means you're actually at risk for a heart attack, right?
That's a giveaway.
And so she didn't
in toast,
know
or is
that.
that a stroke? That's a stroke. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, and
no toast.
And and if she had told me that she had like a pain in her left arm, I know what that is, but she didn't know what it was. But if she had told me, I would have known exactly like to tell, or driven her to the emergency room at that moment that it happened. But because she just waited it out and didn't expect it to be anything, she was in danger of that. And she went to the family doctor like for a checkup or whatever, like after it happened. And the doctor looks at her studies and he just like got angry at her and almost like chewed her out, because it's like, why did this happen? And she just like laughed because she like just like survived.
Defies death.
She laughs in the face of death. That's cool.
Literally laughs at the face. You could have died. That's cool.
Yeah.
My bad. Well then, wow. Well, first off, wow. Secondly, you hold your stress in like a sponge, but you know how your body reacts to it.
Yes.
So that's scary, but good for you. I have, if you guys are willing, because this is a natural segue, I have, even for you, Dave, when you're tempted to throw your controller into a wall, I have some recommendations of alternative relaxation tips. If you'd like to hear them. If you'd like to hear them.
I'm down to hear them, but before you leave us hanging, let's hear how you react.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, okay.
Before we make us sound like some maniacs and
no, it's Dr.
How many walls have you fixed?
I have all the answers, not the problems.
Yeah, that's right.
I keep a sledgehammer under my bed for such a okay. When I get super stressed, few things. First off, unfortunately, I bite my nails like crazy. Like, and so I've actually had I have a fidget spinner almost with me at all times now, because it got so bad that I would chew it back. And unfortunately, and I love him to pieces, my dad's the same way. I actually inherited that kind of little tick from my dad. He's got like barely any nails left. He's a grown man, right? Like he's in his 50s and a super great guy. But he's stressed, and he also chews the inside of his cheek all the time. I also do that whenever I'm super, super stressed. But I also I tend to get flustered, and when I'm frustrated, I don't necessarily get angry. I get panicky. I do. Like I it's more like of a frantic panic mood. So even small things that react in front of me, like my kid just running in front of me, or like a loud noise or anything, just sets me off. And it's not even anger. It's just like a weird, I'm not like paranoid, but I do get a little hyperactive. So there you go. It is. I am crazy. Thank you. You're very welcome.
All right.
For how to cope with it, I don't I try to do physical exercise actually, because I actually, if I don't exercise regularly, like once every 2 to 3 days, I actually have pent up natural stress. My job is very stressful. I'm a manager of an insurance agency. It's go, go, go. There are people yelling at you on one side, people wanting stuff from you on the other side. You have to still produce sales on one side, and corporate needs you to follow their rules. So there's just like tons of things going on in your mind at one time. So I find at work, I either internalize it like Cloud does, and I just kind of get really quiet and really focused. But then as soon as I drive home, it's like that 4 o'clock thing. Instead of the migraine, though, I get incredibly fatigued. Like I just, oh my gosh, just like get hit with a wave. So I don't think I would even handle Boxing Day very well, because Paula like gets an adrenaline rush when she's surrounded by people. When she senses the stress in the air, she's like, this is my time to shine.
It's like a shark.
Oh, seriously?
Smells like a fear.
Yeah.
Whereas I would just probably punch someone. I'd be just like, oh, get away from me. Ah! So there you go. That's I'm not very original either.
Actually, like the bottling it all up was actually like a thing that I used to do. I don't do that anymore because
okay, fine,
because I'm perfect
whatever.
now, and no,
Nice.
it
Stress just oozes off.
That's right. Yeah, it just slides right off.
That's disgusting.
So no, what ended up happening is I started like watching videos, reading books, all on like how I react to certain things and my personality and stuff like that. And
good job, man.
What ended up happening is I actually get when I was at work, I would actually get really cynical and turn into a jerk. And so when people would,
for lack of a more scientific term,
like it was like, it was really cool because it wasn't cool that I was a jerk. It was just that at first, like I would just like, if someone would like let's say I did something wrong and then my boss would chew me out, right? At first it was just I would just accept it. It's like, well, everybody gets something wrong. Like, what am I going to do about it? I did it wrong.
Right.
Now let's just move on and get on with it, right?
Right.
And that's really the way that it should be treated all the time, because people make mistakes. Now we just got to find out, we know what the mistake is. Now we just got to figure out how do we fix it, because the customer in the end is who's important. It doesn't really matter about me. In the end, fix the customer, and then if you want, fire me. I don't care. And so that's the attitude I took, because in the end, it really didn't matter, because I knew I could get a job anywhere, and it didn't really matter to me. So, but that was from learning about my personality and awareness of myself and how I actually function.
Right.
So,
right.
I started making like sarcastic remarks during the day, or like pointing out the flaws that I would see within my business, and I would just speak them out without like thinking. It would just come to my head. I'd immediately just speak it, and I'm like, and it's like it was a negative remark, but at the same time it was a truth. But I said it in like a cynical kind of way, and so I started recognizing that. And I'm like, okay, when I get stressed, I turn into a big jerk, and I just start spouting whatever's in my head.
I believe the Greek term is asshole.
Yeah, that's right. And and that's what would happen. And so then I'm like, okay, well, now I know that this is happening, and I know that this stress is happening. So where's it coming from? Like, you try to find out, where's it coming from? Is it just work, or is it somewhere else? Like, is it a relationship I'm having? Is it, what am I thinking about during the day? Stuff like that. And so once I realized that's what was happening, or like just the workload, and it was actually the workload, and the workload actually happened because it was my own fault, actually, because just like Pola, where she's a shark and she smells that fear, right? Under stress,
she never listens to this.
She works better. She works better under stress, right? And the same is actually true for me. And what I end up doing is I procrastinate. I'm the biggest procrastinator I know. And
Wow.
what happens
Well,
is
we should have a
I was
procrastinate
gonna
off.
say-
no, yeah, that's
Later.
right.
Not
Who
right
can
now, later.
procrastinate the
I was
most?
just about
Yeah.
to say that's awesome.
So what ends up happening is I actually created more work for myself by purposely taking more phone calls than anybody else, because because everybody was getting on my case at the very beginning about answering phones, and I would answer the phone, and then I would think, oh, now it's someone else's turn to answer the phone, and no one answers the phone, and then I'd get in trouble because I'm ready to answer the phone, but I wouldn't answer it, thinking that someone else should answer it, right? To share the workload in the workplace.
Sounds
right?
complicated.
And
Just kidding. Sorry.
Well, I'm a really like deep thinker, right? And so like I think about all this stuff, and it's not the way that other people think. And so one day the general manager comes over and he's like, "We all have to answer the phone. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Don't let it ring, and you have to answer it." And so then I go to the assistant parts manager and I'm like, "Can I answer the phone on the first ring?" Because in parts school they teach you to answer on the second ring, because then it doesn't sound like you're not busy when you answer it right away. and then if you answer it too late, you could miss a call, right? So what ended up happening is he's like, "Yep, just answer it on the first." I'm like, "Okay, get ready, because I'm going to take as much phone calls as I can." And that ended up happening because I wanted to take as much workload, well, as many phone calls as I could to
Like a
spare.
aggressive phone call answering.
Well, that's right. And so what ended up happening is I had to answer it so fast because I didn't want my department to get in trouble from the manager. And so I would answer it, and then like I'd take a phone call, I'd write down what they wanted, then I'd have to hang up the phone, and then I'd start working on looking up my stuff, right? But then the phone goes again, so I'd have to answer that, and then just like repeat, right? And I'd be behind by like 4 or 5 phone calls, right? And
dangerous.
and so, but the thing
geez.
is, that's actually how my business runs. It's actually what my job was. You are behind at least 5 jobs at one time, constantly for 8 hours straight. Okay,
I could not do that, man.
that's my job when I was over there. And the thing is that then you start thinking, okay, well, why is no one else doing as much stuff as I am? And it's because I purposely created myself this workload, but I knew that under stress I actually work better. And so the more work I got, the more efficient and quick I got at my job, and I started getting really good at it. And so I could answer the phone constantly. And so that's why they preferred me to be at the front counter, where I could deal with customers, but I could also take phone calls. And we got good enough that we didn't need 4 people at the front counter anymore. We only needed 2, which was me and the assistant parts manager. And so they did a bunch of layoffs because of the recession stuff and all that. And we had 10 people in the parts room, 10 people in the parts department, right? And they were doing their jobs and stuff, and we had several jobs to do, right? And then they laid people off, and we ended up getting 6 to 7, depending on what part of the year it was. And with 6 to 7 people, we could do the same amount of work and get the same amount of sales as 10 could from the past.
Jeez.
And so they congratulated us for it, but at the same time, I did take a lot of work in order to do that. And so that was a big thing that created a lot of stress for me. And I purposely did it because I knew I could handle the stress and work more efficiently, so I could get more calls, I could do more sales under stress and work better, more efficiently. But it turned me into a big jerk, and I didn't like what it was doing to me, right? Personality wise. And so that was actually one of the factors that came into me deciding to actually quit that, because I didn't like becoming that, even though I was super good at it and I could handle it. But my stress was being sent out as all these sarcastic jokes and hurting people.
It changed who you are.
And yeah, that's right. It changed who I was, right? And I didn't like that was happening. And so that was one of the factors. It wasn't. It might have been the main factor. I just didn't like who I was becoming.
right?
But yeah,
Well,
that was one of them.
Well, I mean, but that does affect you. It does affect who are at constant stress. Because if you don't mind me saying so,
Yeah.
Super Dave, but didn't you have the same exact thing where you had to leave your job just because, not that it was a bad job, but
Well, it just had inherent levels of stress in it that it's not that you could do the job any differently and not have the stress. It was just
Right.
you had to find different ways to deal with it.
Exactly.
And I found a way to deal with it, and it was all right, but it was too taxing on me. Sort of once it all settled, and I was like, okay, I realize I can do this job. I've done it for years now. This is just what the job is. And then when you kind of realize that, then it's sort of like, I don't know. Then it's, yeah. So I quit it because it was just like, I could tell that there was like stress. Like I was having, for me, I get really bad, like indigestion and like acid reflux and stuff. When I'm really like worried or stressed about something. And I mean, sometimes it's also when I eat garbage too. I'm sure there's a link there, but it definitely, I would have it flare up all the time while I was at work, or sometimes even just when I started thinking about work or going back to work. And so I definitely picked up on like the connection between the two. And that's kind of what led me into looking at it and being like, okay, so is this worth it? Like I'm making money, but is it like, if it's like helping, like hurting my health and, you know, making my life unenjoyable, you know, then you got to kind of make some decisions. So, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, for sure. There's definitely some jobs that just come with an inherent level of stress.
They do,
and some people can deal with that. And some people work good under pressure. I do to an extent, but
Right.
Yeah, not like constant like that. So,
well,
yeah,
to
it just
Cloud's
comes with the
point though
territory
too,
sometimes.
performing at a high level at your job and Cloud performing at a high level at your job, in order to even just do your job properly, you had to have stress.
Yep.
And it was whether you guys chose to accept that or not. And I mean, I don't want to get too deep here, but maybe that's kind of what our society has done. Even in the employment area, shopping is much lighter, I would argue, unless you really have like a weird emotional, like the family's counting on me, and if I don't get Auntie so-and-so the best gift ever and she smiles super wide, I'm a failure. That's just a weird mental thing that might cause you stress
That's
for
me.
shopping. But like, okay, well then we're gonna just hang up now. And no, but I mean, like, for jobs and stuff, I believe some people have just given up in a job where they don't feel unhealthy stress, because to a point, stress is healthy because
Sure.
it
Small
does
amounts,
elevate
yep.
us. That's right. Like, it
Yep.
does elevate us. It does bring about precision and excellence and efficiency, to like Cloud's point where he became efficient in his job. They were maximizing their potential, but then it like overran that and you burnt out. And same with you, Super Dave, where you just kind of hated your job. I'm not sure where I am right now. If I'm going to be perfectly real with every 5 people that are listening to this podcast eventually. Okay. I'm not
You're
sure
important.
if I'm. Thank you. Yeah, you guys are important. I don't know if I'm at that stage of burnout yet, or if I ever will get there. I hope I don't. But I feel like my job is a high octane stress job. I don't know if I can avoid that, but I believe to perform at my peak, because you'll actually hear a lot about athletes, by the way, who were at the top of their game. Andre Agassi? Is it Andre Agassi? Top American tennis champion, one of the greats. His dad actually like emotionally abused him as a child, training him to be a perfect tennis star. And he was at the top of his game, but he was super depressed, and had problems, not mental problems, but emotional problems. He was unstable and stuff like that. And you'll hear that all throughout the athletic world of these high peaking performers who push themselves with maximum stress, and then either when they retire they get suicidal, or they go on drugs, or they do something illegal, but they can't handle the lack of that stress anymore, or their body can't handle that anymore, right? It's very interesting, right? And that's probably maybe another topic for another day, but it seems there's a correlation between all 3 of us that way.
Yeah.
That being said, before we go, would you guys like to hear some ways that people have actually resorted to relaxing? So, Cloud, in the future, when you're feeling like you're turning into an a-hole, because that happens all the time. Oh, right. No, never mind. Just kidding. But Super Dave, if you're tempted to smash anyone with a controller, I've got some tips for you, if that's okay, if you'll let me.
As long as they're good, or else I'm gonna smash you.
That's right.
I'm gonna hit you with my controller, man, because I'm just frustrated. So
I got a good arm.
I won't read all of these because some of these are pretty boring. But this one is the first one. This is actually a real technique. You can actually dwell and stumble around in a pool of red wine. In a resort near Mount Fuji, famous for its amusement baths, bathers splash around in red wine, sake, coffee, or green tea. Appropriately, the sign next to the pools reads, "Do not drink." But this is actually a real resort where you can bathe in your choice of coffee, green tea, sake, or red wine.
I don't know. I could do that at home.
Is that just like
Super Dave, what are you doing? I've got a whole cart full of red wine. I'll be back tomorrow.
And then I could drink it.
Yeah,
it's my own filth.
just get the flat of the boxes and dump them all in? Yeah,
That's right.
I don't understand what the benefit to this is. Is it unless there's some kind of like a medical whatever chemicals through your skin or whatever? But
I was gonna say, is it
just
like skin absorption? I mean,
is it just the mental decadence of being like, I got my stuff so together that I can just swim in coffee and I can make this happen at a moment's notice? I don't know.
I can feel the anxiety just dripping away in this disgusting drink that I'm bathing in right now. Thank you very much.
Just a permanent tan.
I've got another one here for you now, and let me know, Cloud, if you've heard this one before, because this one is actually more common. I have a phobia though, and I don't think I've ever told. Well, Cloud might know it. Dave might know it. I don't know. I actually have a phobia of fish. Okay. But there's therapy where you let fish eat your dead skin right off your feet. I don't remember what it's exactly called.
I've heard of it.
Let me read this here. Okay, so you dip your legs into water and 100 tiny doctor fish swim over to chew away the dead skin. Fish pedicures is what they're called. They've blown up in Asia. They're known as a Kenko spa is among the most popular de-stress destinations in Kuala Lumpur, wherever that is. But apparently these fish pedicures are becoming more and more popular and disgusting. I would never, ever, 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 that would stress me out. I would never do that, ever.
I mean, that's crazy. First of all, I did not know you had that phobia. I feel like that's a whole separate issue to unpack. I won't get into that.
An episode on phobias, that'd be cool.
Yes.
Hey,
okay.
We definitely we got some material there, but
thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks for not
I've heard
it.
I've heard of the treatment. I'd try it out. Who knows? Might feel all right. It's kind of gross. It's more gross for me. I'm more taken aback by I don't really like those animals eating my dead cells.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Nope. Yeah,
I don't know. As long as the fish are actually doctors. I mean, if I can see all their little,
if I can see their degree on the wall, I'll allow it.
Yeah, they're professionals. They're not just gonna
Oh yeah, I'm a doctor of Dr. Fish. Just so you know.
Yeah,
it's totally fine. This one's a little bit more.
It is weird though.
Keep going.
I agree.
I can't do it, guys. Because so for those that don't know, Super Dave and I also went to school together, and we went on a trip to Belize. And I didn't think I would be able to go snorkeling. I did not think. And I literally was sitting in the boat, crossing my arms, and I looked down and I was stiff as a rock. I was stressed. Okay. Just on the subject. I was like rigid as heck. My muscles were tense. And we have this sweet girl named Katie, and she was sitting beside me, and she knows my stupid fear of fish. And she's like gently like stroking my and she's small, and I'm a decent, heavy, wide guy, and she's like gently stroking my arm because she knows I'm afraid of fish. We're about to go in this snorkeling trip. So I jump. So I'm like, oh God, if there's a big fish, I'm gonna freaking lose my. I'm gonna drown in these beautiful waters of Belize. I'm gonna drown. And I literally get out of the boat, the tourist boat. Everyone else has jumped out, and they're all swimming around. Dave is enjoying himself because he's normal. And I jump out of the boat.
In that respect.
In that respect of snorkeling. I jump out. I look around, and it's all clear. And I'm like, thank God, thank God, thank God. I turn around, And under the boat that is casting a shadow, there is the biggest mother effing whatever fish on God's earth is under that boat enjoying the shade. And
horrible.
I almost said the F word. I was just like, ah! and
Fish!
Breathed in the water. I'm unconscious now.
Oh, and Katie popped up. She actually tapped me. She said, "Did you say something?" I'm like, "No, not at all." I just
what luck, I said.
That's right.
So anyways, moving on from my
he's
phobia.
not cured of the phobia.
We're not doing pedicures, okay? The next one's pretty normal. Lying down on hot stones. Let's see here. Ganbanyoku is a fancy name for stretching out on a hot slab of granite. Oof. As the surface heats up, wave goodbye to your physical and mental stress. The treatment originated in Thailand and is all the rage in Japanese spas right now. So you literally lie on the granite as it slowly increases in heat. I don't think I would enjoy that. I don't. It's pretty normal. I've heard of hot stone massage, right, where they just put the hot rocks on.
Yeah, it's a gradual heat that can sneak up on you.
That's the worst. It's the worst when it catches you because you're too far gone.
Yeah, that's right.
You've already caught it. This one I would recommend for Dave.
You're already well done.
I think, Dave, in those times of stress, this is what I would recommend to you. For years, the Chinese have been using sheep placenta to treat aging skin. And in a Singapore Meilanda salon, they take it a step further by offering products that contain human afterbirth.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry. Human afterbirth.
Oh.
Don't worry. The special ingredient comes from mothers who carried full-term babies and gave written consent. You actually have it as a facial.
No, I do not. No.
Just in a cream tube. Squeezes it on his hands, puts it on.
It's like toothpaste.
Gross.
Yeah, that's not something I'd be game for. No.
Would you like a placenta
I would rather
facial?
just buy a new controller and fix the wall.
That's right. Life skills.
This one's along the same lines, but not nearly, I think, as graphic. You could spread nightingale poop on your face. Geishas kept their skin clear by massaging it with nightingale droppings, and Japanese spas still offer these pungent facials, or you can pick up a bottle for US $17.99 online.
Oh no!
Christmas gifts, Dave.
Yeah, no doubt.
Christmas gifts.
You think the ketchup bottle makes a weird noise when you squeeze it?
Oh
right?
God. Oh. Okay.
Why does it smell like farts?
Debbie, Merry Christmas. I think this is the last one I'll do. Well, actually, no, there's two more, and then I'm done. I'm sorry. One is you can burn your skin with mugwort cigars. It says this in moxibustion, Moxibustion. I have no idea what that means. In moxibustion, the therapist lights a stick of mugwort over or onto your skin. It burns, but it also boosts your circulation. So apparently they just light cigars on your skin, and apparently it's therapeutic. So you're welcome.
Not abusive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah,
That's
right. That's with that kind of in there. The last one is actually a real therapy. It's called gua sha, and you scrape away toxins with a spoon. So people actually use this as therapy. It's practiced in China, Vietnam, and Indonesia. And what they do is they actually vigorously scrape away fever or anxiety or stress on your body with a spoon, leaving behind aggressive, angry red stripes. A blogger named Joel reported that it was calming and not uncomfortable except for the last 2 or 3 strokes on each line, just like the gradual heat. The gradual pain got to him eventually. So
yeah,
So laying down and letting someone scrape away your stress with a spoon
Actually-
doesn't actually sound very distressful.
Actually, that's actually kind of cool because like I was watching a video by Steve Cook, a YouTuber and bodybuilder,
Yeah.
and his because he bodybuilds a lot, right? His muscles tense up because they're so big and he works them out all the time, right? So he creates stress in them. You can actually get that same exact like massage, but what it does is it actually it takes out the toxins from the muscles. So it's a stress reliever
Really?
also, right? And you can use spoons, but like this guy was like an ancient like guy. His tools were actually made of animal bone. And so he used that. So anything that really scrapes, so a spoon will work. But this guy was using like animal bones and stuff. Yeah, and his entire body was like covered in these red streaks. It looked like he was bleeding, and it looked like bruises. But that's because he was being scraped so hard, right? And it was painful, but he knew that it was good because then it really like let out all the stress of his physical stress, right? So it was cool.
Man,
Wow.
I have a hard time with that. I don't know. I gotta. Sometimes I can't take my skeptic hat off, and some of those. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if like toxins are in your skin and you can just scoop them out with a spoon. I don't.
It was.
I don't know how much of it's like a placebo. Like I just spent $500. Like of course it worked.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
It was actually really
I
cool
mean-
because on the areas that he actually scraped, the parts that were more like it discolored in a different way. So it was like the same amount of pressure was put throughout the whole body, but it would only discolor in like have like a deeper purple in certain spots, and some spots would be only like red, and then the purple spots were the part where it was like the most toxic, right? And it would just come out, and it was like an actual like liquid. It was like a purple liquid that started coming out. It was really cool, but really weird. Yeah.
I think I'd rather the
Wow.
fish pedicure than watch. No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. That's a lie. Oh.
I'd have to do some more research before. But imagine if you could weaponize other people's toxins and stuff.
That's right.
You know.
All I see is that Rick and
Just-
Morty
here's
episode
all
where they
this
have
stress.
the bad
Yeah.
essences. Oh,
Oh, I'm glad we all saw that. I
That's
was really
right.
thinking about
Yeah.
that this whole time.
as soon as he said like a purple gooey or whatever, I was like, it's that D.
It's the
That-
toxins.
It's the toxin chamber. It's just freaking disgusting. Oh, for all those Rick and Morty fans, that's for you. Oh gosh.
Yep. Bubble
Well-
dub dubs.
You're
Well,
welcome.
beloved dub dubs, Tiny Rick. On that regard, then, we really gave you no actual tips on how to deal with stress. Although I do think Cloud's little story was a good enlightenment of you can choose
I have
to let
more,
stress run your life or not.
unless Dave wants to say his stuff, if he has stuff.
Dave,
Stuff.
do it. Do you want to?
Well, nothing that I'd be willing to. No. Go ahead, Claude. You obviously got something.
Yeah. Okay.
Do it,
well,
man.
I was actually listening like to a couple TED Talks on stress, and
Right.
yeah, I did my research this time. Okay. And
Okay. Good job, Cloud.
there's
Good job, man. Good job.
there's a guy named Daniel Levitin, and he was.
I'm
he
looking
was
it up
doing-
right now to make sure you did your homework.
Okay, fine. And so during stress, you release cortisol, right? And it increases your heart rate. It also clouds your thinking, and the clouding of your thought process actually makes the thing worse, and it makes you make bad decisions, right? While you're under stress, and then it just kind of snowballs, right? So it makes it bad.
Right.
So
Right.
what he actually recommends is prospective hindsight. So what you do is while you're not under stress and nothing is going wrong, you can actually plan for things to actually go wrong. So like if something does go wrong, you go through the thought process so that when your mind is clouded, you can actually not have to think about it and you just know what to do. So like examples are like designating places for like things that are easily lost. So like keys, he did passports and glasses. So having a spot where things that move all the time, instead you like as soon as you get home, you put them on a little hook, right? Or something like that, right? Yeah, and like he was talking more about travel because he like travels a lot for talks and stuff like that. So also taking like cell pictures of all your documents and emailing them to yourself, just in case you do end up losing those documents. You have them like in the cloud, let's say, right, or just email to you. Yeah, it minimizes or prevents damage when that stressful situation comes. So because you're gonna have issues anyway, because things come up, right? So you can minimize them or ultimately prevent them, right?
Really?
Yeah. So it's just like a thing where you just have to be aware that things are gonna happen. There's no way you can avoid stress. It just happens. We're not perfect, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Another talk was Kelly McGonigal, and she's a health psychologist. And what she talks about is actually changing your mindset of stress from a negative connotation to a positive one. So what ends up happening is because your heart rate, it increases, right? You also start
Right.
breathing faster, and what you can do is you can change that to the mindset of your body is actually going into a flight or a fight mode. And if you consider it, it's preparing you for the conflict that's about
Right.
to happen. It actually gives you courage. And what it does is your body gets ready, right? And so it actually increases your confidence if you think about it that way. And if you think about it in the negative connotation, like I was saying before, your blood vessels they constrict, right? Like the holes that allow the passages end up getting thicker, like the walls,
Right.
and then it restricts the flow, right? If you think about it in a positive
Mm-hmm.
connotation, they actually found that people's blood vessels remained relaxed, but it still increased your heart rate and your breathing, right? But that was your body preparing you to actually work better, kind of like an adrenaline response kind of thing. And so it increases
Mm.
a person's like ability to work better during those times, right? And it also
Mm.
because it also releases oxytocin, that hormone. And what it does is it increases your ability to socialize also.
Oh.
So what
Oh.
ends up happening is you actually crave contact from other people that are important to you. Not to get sympathy or anything. It's more of if you help people, like you want to help people and you want them to help you at the same time. So it actually, and it also it actually acts as an anti-inflammatory, so it makes everything not become inflamed and swell up, the oxytocin. And
Yeah.
it also it's really cool because like stress, when you flip the mindset and teach your brain to like think differently, it affects your body physically. So the oxytocin actually strengthens your heart instead of makes it increase your chance of heart attack. It actually makes it more powerful. And so if you learn to use stress positively, it actually, you don't get that increase in heart attack, right? So it's actually
It's a lot
really
of
cool. So a
it's a
lot
lot
of
of work.
oh yeah, a lot of stuff happens, but that's the thing, you have to teach your brain to think of it differently so that when it does happen, it goes for the
It's an
positive.
embrace.
That's
It's
right.
just like pulling the shark all over again. It's a oh yeah rather than a oh no.
Yeah, exactly. But those are some things
Interesting.
that I looked up on those.
Snap. Well, frick. Just a
Yeah,
lot more about stress. Sorry.
I only saw a couple. Like we were just looking up in prep for this, right? Different ways to relieve stress, and
Mhm.
most of them we've kind of covered. You know, exercise, finding something to distract you, an activity or something. An interesting was like an activity that draws your focus to like your hands and your body. So like cooking or sketching or knitting or exercising, because it kind of
Nail biting.
occupies your
Yeah.
mind. Yeah. Well, hey, unless that's a thing for you. Um, yeah. So that was one. But then an interesting one was they had being thankful, or like being
Really?
like gratitude, like great, like showing your gratitude, um, which it goes along with what I know from like whatever when I've learned from like Bible school or whatever if you want to look at like the biblical attitude of gratitude. But because it forces you to look at the positive aspects of your life and what you have going for you, and could even like shift your overall perspective of like things aren't necessarily as bad as you think when you're just super fixated on this one thing that's a negative. Um,
I
so,
like that.
anyways, I don't know.
Yeah.
That one was interesting, and even if if you don't get very far, it's like it's just making your mind work in the opposite direction, which can even lower your stress a little bit, even if you don't fully get to what everything actually is totally fine. It can still maybe take you down from like a 7 to like a 4, maybe.
Right. Right. Well, and I mean, and really quickly, I also know that in stuff that I've learned also, I didn't do really workshops, but I have learned about it, whether by reading on it or actually just seeing it in action. But there was a thing about self-talk, negative self-talk. And a lot of people, if they're training themselves the wrong way, when a failure is done or you miss something or you make a mistake, you will listen to yourself subconsciously actually instilling what you actually believe about yourself, right? So you'll be like, oh, you're so stupid, or that was a stupid thing, or oh man, there's like, why, like it's some people do negative, but they showed a dramatic difference in people that are like, come on, Russ, you can do this. You're better than this, or this is, come on, that's not going to break you. For people that could actually, and to Claudio's point, use the stress where instead of it being a downside, where it's like, come on, you idiot, it was, don't worry, this is only going to get better. That slight change dramatically changes your whole body chemistry from a whole negative and everything is clouding in and you react negatively, you become an a-hole, you're frustrated, to a motivation to do better, a heightened sense of focus. So stress is not necessarily, like we've already said, stress is not a bad thing. You do want to deal with the unhealthy amounts of stress, but maybe it's also us learning to redirect more of that stress in a good way. Because to my point earlier, maybe I'm never going to get out of a stressful job. Even if I leave this job eventually and go to another one, there's always going to be stress. But if I could learn to harness that stress and say, look, this pressure, this tension is always going to be here. But instead of trying to get rid of it, right? Because you always see people, I need to de-stress. Yes, you do. Absolutely. Go do that. But to a point, what if you're actually supposed to input 40% more of that stress in a positive way than try to get rid of all of it? Does that make sense? Is that viable, do you think?
Oh yeah. I mean, conflict and running into opposition that's what makes you grow and grow stronger and become more, because you have to find a way to get around it, right? To work through it. So you don't want to remove all stress from your life or all, like
you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
All difficulty. I know it's exactly. You stagnate as a person, and then when eventually it hits the fan and you really have to deal with a serious situation, you're unequipped because you've never had to, shoulder any kind of a stressful emotional burden before, and you don't have the tools to deal with it. So
yeah,
there you go.
So actually, like something I just want to mention, like, do you guys like? I know that taking vacations, every time I hear about people taking vacations from their job, it to me it doesn't seem like they're doing it properly. Just because
it doesn't always work.
It's like it stresses them out even more because they have to get everything ready just for the vacation. Whereas when I take a vacation, like whenever I would take like holidays or whatever, I would actually take like a week and I would not plan anything. And but I know some people have to, like they have kids and stuff, and then they have to entertain the kids, because why would you want to be in the house with your kids all the time when you're trying to right? But like for myself, I know I don't plan anything, and then I kind of just go with the flow, to just kind of keep the stress of work out of it, right? And you go and kind of do nothing, and because it actually, it's like a reboot of your system, because if your brain is like, if its neural pathways and stuff, if it's an electrical signal, you can reboot it like a computer by doing nothing. It'll be really weird at first, but if you do nothing and cause it to like shut down, not to like death, but like shut down and do nothing, it can reboot your system and then work better. So that's what I find works for me, where like you kind of do nothing for a day and then just kind of get back into it afterwards. But yeah.
Jeez.
Noise. Well, yeah, that's definitely yeah, I guess it's an easier, better, like cheaper
Yeah.
vacation, for sure.
Well, can you not like leave a day aside, right? Like it's just like at least do it like once a year, like just one day. Like what's that going to cost you out of 365, right?
Sure.
Jeez. I think, guys, we have explored how doofusy we are with stress. We're not doofusy, but how it affects us. But there you go. For everyone listening, I don't think we just left you with, woe is me, the world is stressful. I think we actually also offered you some solutions, and also some really, really terrible solutions. So go buy some nightingale poop after this.
That's right.
And
Or
try
use a
it
spoon.
out. Or use a spoon, and both at the same time. Just scoop it off your back after you put it on your back.
That's right.
Double toxins.
It's terrible. It's disgusting.
Double purple
So
stuff.
use that. So I think that's it for today, everyone. I hope you learned something, or God, forget everything. Heck, forget the fish story. All right,
That's the
just
best.
forget the fish story. Yes,
We're definitely doing
Oh, yeah, we're
phobias
doing-
sometime.
we're doing it.
We have to.
That's-
Okay, hold us to it, everyone. We're gonna do phobias, and
Yeah.
no matter how many times you ask me, Dave, I don't have a rational reason for it. I hate fish.
Hey man, I understand. I got my own stupid fear. That we won't spoil it. We won't spoil
Oh,
it.
yeah, don't spoil it.
It's just as dumb and pointless and
This
just
is
teaser
no good.
trailers.
Teaser. That's
Yeah.
it, guys. I think we already got our next one. So there you go. If we don't hear back from you guys, you don't hear back from us, Merry Christmas. We might have one more before the season for you, but if not, we wish you guys a very happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. Thanks for listening to Undertelt, and until next time, we will see you later.
So long.
Bye.